Hi nerds, and welcome back. These hiatuses from the channel are never quite as productive for me as I plan on them being, but on this most recent hiatus I did start revisions on my nano project, so at least I got that. Because my brain is in all revision mode right now, that is what I want to talk about today. Besides fixing the multitude of inconsistencies in this manuscript, my main focus for this round of revisions is shaping up the story arcs, both the plot arcs and the character. So of course I've been thinking a lot about this. What are the keys to shaping those arcs into a story that will be interesting, will grip readers, will feel natural, and make them want to continue reading? The first key is to be careful of repetitive beats. This can be emotional beats in your character's arc, or it can be plot ones. Have you ever read one of those books where the character keeps ending up in really similar situations and then they react the same way every time and the fallout is really similar every time? I have read those books and it can get a little bit annoying. Yes, your character is going to have certain hang-ups because they are a person with a personality. They're going to have fears or trust issues or commitment problems, and that is going to impact the story multiple times. Most people aren't going to get over their greatest fear by facing it one time, or they're not going to get over whatever that hang-up is that they have. The problem is when the issue is presented and resolved in the same way every time. Let's say that your character has trust issues because of something that's happened in their past, and the love interest is constantly trying to get them to trust them. So something happens, your main character is like, oh, I don't trust you, and the love interest is like, here's the reasons you should trust me. And then your character's like, okay, I'll trust you. And then 20 pages later, there's another situation where they're refusing to trust that person. Every single time this happens in your story, the main character doesn't want to trust them, the love interest convinces them to, the main character now trusts them. Think of it from that love interest point of view in this example. If someone was like that towards you, they were constantly refusing to trust you, how many times would you be willing to try and convince them to trust you? And why is the love interest the only person that this main character is having trust issues with? Why can't we see this hang-up or this fear in regards to multiple situations and multiple people? Why is the love interest reacting the same way every time? Why is the main character resolving it in the same way every time? So that's what I mean by repetitive beats. Yes, your main character or your plot is probably going to be circling around certain issues all through the story, but they should also be progressing as they do that and not just like static, like I've got the same problems all through the book and oh look, it's finally resolved at the end. The second key to a well-shaped story arc is finding the balance between your characters driving the plot and the plot driving your characters. This is, of course, a very important balance to get, and it can be pretty difficult to do in a first draft, which is why you're going to be focusing on it in your revisions. Because while you don't want your main character to just be constantly buffeted around by the plot and the people around them and have no agency and choice in the matter, you also don't want your character to be in complete 100% control of the plot, because that's not realistic to life. Sometimes things are not going to go the way your character plans, things are going to be out of their control, and then they're going to have to react to those things, and that is how they continue to drive the plot. Basically, you want your character to move the plot along based on their actions and their choices and their mistakes, but you also want the plot to be driving your character's development and making them into a different person, the person that they need to be by the end of the story. Speaking of your character's development, throughout the story, your character's goals and motivations should be evolving along with the plot. Take Katniss from The Hunger Games, for example. At the beginning of the first book, her sole motivation and goal is to keep her sister safe. But by the end of the trilogy, she has all of these other goals and motivations that have been pushed on her by other people or that she has chosen, and she's now the figurehead of a rebellion. But it is important to note that she still has that original goal and motivation at the root of everything else. She's still trying to protect her sister and her family and the people she loves. So look at what your character's major motivation and goal are at the beginning of the book, at your midpoint, and at the climax. Are they exactly the same, or are they evolving as your character learns new information, meets new people, gets a new perspective on their world? Because it should be changing. And the last key to shaping your story arc in revisions is asking yourself, do the stakes build naturally? This is where story structure comes into play. I did a whole series of videos about these last year, so if you just search WordNerds story structure on YouTube, you will find it. There's probably some category for it on the website because Megan is amazing with the website. Anyway, even if you did not use a story structure template while you were drafting, you should probably reference one while you are revising, because story structure will help you to ensure that your stakes build in a way that is natural, consecutive, and inevitable. You don't want your antagonist to reach peak awfulness too early in the story, but you also have to naturally build to that peak when you finally reach it. Anyway, those are the things that I have been thinking about while I have been reading through my manuscript and starting revisions, because I want to have a book in the end that people can't stop turning the pages. I want something that flows, where the emotional beats and the plot build naturally. I want to build tension. I want characters who evolve and change and grow in a way that feels real. Anyway, if you are working on revisions right now, I know a lot of people are because Nano was just a couple of months ago, let me know what things you are focusing on in this round of revisions. Remember that you always want to start big picture and move in smaller with each round of revisions. And we will see you guys this Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Time for our next live chat. I do not know what the topic is, but it will be in the little end card at the end of this video and down in the description. We will see you there at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye.